perfect, flawless, except for the 12-year-old girl sitting quietly in a wheelchair near the far edge of the festivities. Her mint green dress, carefully chosen to match the bridesmaids, was slightly crumpled in her lap. Her hands, small and trembling, were folded neatly, the knuckles pale from the pressure. Her long brown curls fell loosely around her shoulders, partially hiding the fresh tears glistening in her eyes. No one noticed. Or rather, they did, and pretended not to. She had been wheeled out during the photo session earlier, parked at the side of the garden like a decorative element, then left alone as the party moved on. Everyone was too busy to care. She was the daughter of the groom's boss, the powerful CEO funding half the wedding, but her presence had faded into the background. Until one man, standing at the buffet line with his daughter, glanced over, frowned deeply, and whispered to her, "Why is that little girl all alone?" If you believe that no one deserves to be left behind, no matter their condition, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs a reminder of kindness, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. These stories are meant to touch hearts, heal minds, and inspire change, and your support makes all the difference. The girl's name was Clara Maddox. Born to privilege, raised with the best tutors and the most expensive toys, her life changed forever one winter when a rare autoimmune disease left her paralyzed from the waist down. It had happened swiftly, cruelly. One moment she was climbing trees in the family's summer estate, and the next she was in a hospital bed, confused, staring at legs that no longer listened to her brain. Her father, Charles Maddox, was the kind of man who moved stock markets with a phone call, powerful, demanding, and emotionally distant. Her mother had passed when Clara was 6. After the diagnosis, Charles buried himself deeper in his empire, hiding his helplessness beneath layers of schedules, bodyguards, and quarterly earnings reports. Clara was left in the care of round-the-clock nurses and therapists, but rarely, if ever, in the arms of someone who simply loved her. So when the invitation to his CFO's daughter's wedding came, one he couldn't afford to skip for optics, Charles decided to bring Clara along. Not to include her. Not to bond. But because it looked better to appear as a family man. She had her hair done. She had a dress custom made. He had a nurse prepare her for travel. But once they arrived at the luxurious vineyard-turned-wedding venue, he disappeared into boardroom-style conversations, clinking drinks with investors, posing for selfies with the groom, and never once asking her how she felt. Clara's wheelchair was quietly wheeled to the garden's edge, and there she sat, pretending to admire the roses, pretending she didn't feel invisible. The single dad's name was Jamie Ross. A former high school English teacher turned delivery driver after the loss of his wife, Jamie had raised his daughter Ella with grit and humility. He didn't have a lot, but what he had, he gave with all his heart. Ella, now 13, stood beside him in a simple blue dress, holding a soda cup and eyeing the dessert table. They weren't supposed to be there, not originally. Jamie was a friend of the caterer, called in last minute to fill a staff shortage. He'd brought Ella along because he had no one to leave her with. That's how fate works sometimes, slipping grace into places where it's least expected. Jamie first noticed Clara during the speeches. The crowd laughed as the best man recounted embarrassing college stories, but Jamie's eyes kept drifting back to the young girl in the mint green dress. She was clapping softly, politely, but something about her smile felt rehearsed. It was when a group photo began, and everyone rearranged themselves into position without asking if Clara wanted to be included, that Jamie turned to Ella. "Do you see that?" he asked. "She's just sitting there." Ella followed his gaze and nodded, her brows furrowing. After a moment, Jamie walked over. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. He simply approached slowly, crouched beside her, and said, "Hi. My name's Jamie. You okay out here by yourself?" Clara looked at him with wide, startled eyes. No one had spoken to her in hours. She stammered, "I'm fine." But her voice cracked, and that was all Jamie needed to hear. Ella joined them, smiling shyly. "I love your flower crown," she said. Clara's hand rose to touch it. "Thanks," she whispered. "It's from the bridesmaids." Jamie nodded. "Mind if we hang out with you for a bit?" And just like that, her world shifted. What followed was not a grand miracle. There were no fireworks. But in those small, patient moments, something extraordinary bloomed. Jamie asked her about her favorite books. Clara, who rarely got to talk about the fantasy novels she devoured, lit up with excitement. Ella shared a funny story about slipping in the buffet line, and Clara laughed, a real, unguarded laugh that drew stares from a few nearby guests. But Jamie didn't care. He adjusted her wheelchair slightly so she could better see the dance floor, brought her a plate of mini pastries, and asked if she'd ever tried teaching someone to waltz with just her arms. By the time Clara's father finally noticed, hours later, he found a small crowd had formed near his daughter. Some bridesmaids had joined in. The photographer was snapping shots of Clara laughing with Ella. Someone had found a tambourine, and Clara was tapping along as the DJ played a mellow tune. Charles stood there, watching, stunned. His daughter, the same one he had thought too fragile, too tired, too complicated to be part of a celebration, was beaming. And it was all because a stranger cared enough to ask a simple question: why is she alone? Jamie stood when Charles approached. Clara tensed. But Jamie held his ground. "Sir," he said respectfully, "I hope you don't mind." She seemed like she needed some company. Charles looked from Jamie to his daughter, then back again. Something shifted in his face, not anger, but something closer to shame. He nodded slowly. "Thank you," he said. It was barely audible, but it was real. The next day, Charles did something no one expected. He called off 2 meetings. He asked Clara if she wanted to have lunch, just the 2 of them. He listened. Really listened. He asked her what made her smile, what scared her, what she missed most about walking. And for the first time since her diagnosis, Clara felt seen by her own father. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale. But it was the beginning of something honest. As for Jamie and Ella, they left the wedding with full hearts and a story they would never forget. Months later, Jamie received a handwritten letter from Charles Maddox. Inside was a simple message: "Thank you for reminding me what matters. I've missed too much of her already. But thanks to you, I won't miss the rest." Attached was a scholarship certificate for Ella's dream music school, fully funded. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that kindness still has the power to change lives, please like this video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. We share stories that honor compassion, hope, and the strength found in unlikely heroes.